This is Ms. Humbert here. Today we are going to be doing Unit 2 Learning Target 7. So we're going to be talking about solving systems by elimination. So this is another way of solving systems. So first we learned substitution and now we're going to learn elimination. So let's take a look at this. Steps for solving systems by elimination. Okay. So your first step is simply going to be to add the two equations together. And when you do that, one of the variables should cancel because we can't solve equations if we have two variables in them. Then all you have to do is solve for the remaining variable. Just like we did with substitution, our last step is the same. You're going to substitute that value into one of the equations and solve for the other variable. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at what that's going to look like. So taking a look at number 1. For number 1, I notice that one of my x's is negative and one of my x's is positive, which means I can go ahead and add down the columns right away. X minus x is going to cancel out completely, so I don't even need to write that because it's just going to be 0. 2y minus y is going to give me y. And then 10 minus 6 is going to give me, or 10 plus a negative 6, either way, is going to give me 4. So now I know that y is equal to 4. So I can take that and I can put it in for either one of these y's. And the choice is yours. One isn't really easier than the other, so you can pick. So let's just put it in the top one. So I'm going to take y out completely, and instead of writing y, I'm going to put 4, because that's what y is equal to. And that's going to be equal to 10. So I have x plus 8 is equal to 10. So now I need to solve this for x. So I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides. And I get that x is equal to 10 minus 8, which is 2. So my x is equal to 2 and my y is equal to 4. So I'm going to go ahead and write that as a coordinate point, x, y. Next, let's take a look at number 2. I notice that my y's have the same number with opposite sides, which means I can immediately add down the columns. So let's go ahead and let's do that. So I'm going to take 2x minus 3x, or 2 plus a negative 3x. So that's going to give me a negative 8. 4 plus a negative 8 is going to give me negative 4. Well, we don't want this negative sign here with the x. So that's really the same as there being a negative 1x in front of the x. So to solve for x, what I'm going to do is to divide both sides by a negative 1. And then I get negative 4 divided by negative 1. And that's going to give me a positive 4. Okay, now I know that x is equal to a positive 4, so I can plug it into either one of these x's. And it actually doesn't matter, so I usually just pick the top one when it doesn't matter. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the equation 2x plus y is equal to 4. Now instead of writing the x, I'm putting the 4 in instead. So I have 2 times 4 plus y is equal to 4. So now 2 times 4 is 8. Plus y is equal to 4. So now we're going to subtract 8 from both sides, and I get that y is equal to a negative 4. So now I need to write that out as a coordinate point. First I write my x, and then I write my y. So I have the point 4, negative 4. All right, let's take a look at number 3. We want to solve this one by elimination. So again, I see that I have the same number but with opposite signs on my x's. So that means I can immediately add straight down the columns. So negative 2x plus 2x is going to cancel out. 3y plus 2y is going to be 5y. Negative 11 plus 6 is going to be negative 5. So 5 times y. So what I'm going to do is divide both sides by 5. And then I get that y is equal to a negative 1. So where I see y up here, I can plug negative 1 into either one of those equations. Again, it doesn't matter. Well, let's just do the bottom one this time, just for something different. So I'm going to keep the 2x the same, but then instead of writing y, I'm going to write negative 1 because that's what the y is equal to. So then I have 2x. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2, and that's going to be equal to 6. So now I need to solve this for x. So I'm going to start by adding 2 to both sides. So then I get that 2x is equal to 8. The 2 is being multiplied by the x, so I'm going to divide both sides by 2. And then I get that x is equal to 4. So x is equal to 4, y is equal to negative 1. So when I wrote that out as a coordinate point, first my x and then my y. Next, let's take a look at number 4. So for number 4, I noticed that my y's have the same number with opposite signs. So I can go ahead and add down the columns. So x plus 7x is going to give me 8x. 9 plus 7 is going to give me 16. So now that 8 is being multiplied by the x, I can divide both sides by 8. 16 divided by 8 is going to give me 2. So now I know that x is equal to 2, and I can plug it in here or here. Again, it's going to be about the same amount of solving for both, so you can pick which one you want to plug it into. I'm going to plug it into the bottom one. So I have 7 times 2 plus y is equal to 7. So I kept the entire equation the same. All I did was take the x out and put 2 in instead. So I get 14 plus y is equal to 7. So subtract 14 from both sides, and I end up getting that y is equal to a negative 7, because 7 minus 14 is negative 7. So now I'm going to write that out as a coordinate point. First my x, then my y. So 2, negative 7 for that one. We're going to go ahead and we're going to skip number 5 because it's the exact same as number 4. But if you want to do it for extra practice, you go ahead and have at it. Let's take a look at number 6. So for number 6, I see that I have a positive 4x and a negative 4x. So since they're already opposite signs, we can go ahead and add down the columns. 2y plus a negative 3y is going to give me a negative y. Again, guys, we're adding down the columns, okay? Sometimes we add a negative number, which is the same as subtracting, but really you're always adding down the columns. 8 plus a negative 10 is going to give me a negative 2. Okay, and what we don't want is that negative sign in front of the y. So remember, that's kind of like a negative 1y. So to get that over to the other side, I'm going to divide both sides by a negative 1. So then I have y, and I have negative 2 divided by negative 1, which is going to give me a positive 2. So now I know that y is equal to a positive 2. So I can plug it into either one of those equations. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to plug it into the bottom one. So I have 4x minus 3. Now instead of writing y, I'm writing 2 because that's what y is equal to. And that's going to be equal to a negative 10. So 4x minus 6 is equal to a negative 10. So now I want to add 6 to both sides. So then I get 4x is equal to a negative 4. And then, since that 4 is being multiplied by the x, I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides by 4. Negative 4 divided by 4 is a negative 1. So I get that x is equal to a negative 1. So y is equal to 2, x is equal to a negative 1. So we're going to write our coordinate point out with first our x, then our y. Let's take a look now at number 7. So for number 7, I noticed that my s's have same number opposite signs. So that means I can go ahead and add down my columns. So I have 3r plus a negative 2r. So that's just going to give me r or 1r. Then I have negative 35 plus 30. So that's going to give me a negative 5. So now I've gotten that r is equal to 5. So I can go ahead and I can substitute that in there or there. So I'm going to substitute it into the first one. So I'm going to take r out and I'm going to put negative 5 in instead. And then I'm going to keep the rest of the equation the exact same. Okay? 3 times negative 5 is negative 15 minus 5s is equal to a negative 35. So now I'm going to go ahead and add 15 to both sides. And I end up getting negative 5s, and that's going to be equal to negative 35 plus 15, which is 20. So then I can divide both sides by a negative 20, divide both sides by a negative 5, and I end up getting that s is equal to 4. So we don't really have a coordinate point that we can write out. So if you're going to write out as a coordinate point, you can just put it as in alphabetical order. Since it's not x and y, it isn't really a coordinate point, but if you want to do that, you can. I'm going to go ahead and have a skip number 8 because it doesn't turn out to be a nice number for us. So we're going to go ahead and skip it and focus on the last 2 on the note sheet here. So let's take a look at number 9. So for number 9, I noticed that we have same number opposite signs on the b's. So that means I can go ahead and add down the columns. So a plus a negative 3a is going to give me a negative 2a. 5 plus a negative 9 is going to give me negative 4. Remember again that those b's are canceling out, so I don't have to worry about those. So now that negative 2 is being multiplied by the a. So to get it over out to the other side, I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2. So negative 4 divided by negative 2 is going to give me 2. So a is equal to 2, and I can plug it in there or there. It doesn't matter which equation I plug it into. Well, let's just plug it into the bottom one. So I have negative 3. Now instead of writing a, I'm going to put 2 because they mean the same thing. They equal each other. Plus 2b minus 9. So let's go ahead and let's solve this out. So I get negative 6 plus 2b is equal to a negative 9. So first thing I want to do is get that negative 6 over to the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and add 6. And then I get 2b is equal to a negative 3. Okay, and then when I divide both sides by 2, I end up getting that b is equal to a negative 1.5. So if you wanted to write that out as a coordinate point, you would write your a first and then your b. So there's your coordinate point for number 9. Lastly, let's take a look at number 10. So for number 10, I noticed that it is we already have opposite signs, same number on the m. So that means I can add down the columns because those m's are going to cancel out. So negative 5n plus 7n is 2n. Negative 6 plus 14 is 8. Then I can go ahead and divide both sides by 2, and I get that n is equal to 4. So since I know that n is equal to 4, I can plug it in there or there. It doesn't matter which one. Let's just plug it into the first one. So the whole equation is going to stay the same, except instead of writing n, I'm going to put 4 instead. So I took out the n and I put 4 in instead. So I get 2m minus 20 is equal to a negative 6. Here I'm going to add 20 to both sides. And then I get that 2m is equal to negative 6 plus 20. That's really the same as 20 minus 6. So you get 14. Divide both sides by 2, and you get that m is equal to 7. So now we're going to write that out as a coordinate point. First m and then n. So that concludes your note video for today. Go ahead and show me your completed note sheet when you are done. Thank you for listening.